Good afternoon. Good to see you guys back in the PAV. We're hitting the road again. Excited last week before Big Ten play starts. So pretty important 3 matches for us in a row. Long list of things that we'd like to get in place and tune up before Big Ten starts. So starting with a pretty big match against Green Bay in their home venue. Though they'll be ready. Good enthusiasm, good crowd, good environment. And so, yeah, most of my attention's there, but certainly looking at these last 3 matches as a package and hopefully making some progress, especially offensively, right? We've learned a lot about who we are, what we can do on the defensive side of the ball, but trying to be better on the offensive end, a little more efficient with what we do. So,
What, in terms of philosophy, I suppose there's human nature, at least for us, we look and say, you've had Texas and Stanford, and now you've got, 3 change-up kind of games. Talk through the philosophy on why that matched up well with what you wanted now and how important these 3 are to fine-tune, as you said.
yeah, I think you learn a lot every year. Last year we ran the gauntlet from start to finish and put a ton of our energy into our opponents and being great for each opponent, and didn't get to spend a lot of time on ourselves and what we need to be great at. And it really caught up with us in Big Ten play, we thought. And so this year's thought process was to stay a little closer to home. We traveled a little bit, but we've gone not too far away to 2 of the 3 weekends. Make sure we're healthy. We know the academic calendar better than we did last year. We know the kind of stresses the athletes are under this time of year. And so just, again, everything is geared towards development, and yeah, again, these 3 matches, certainly different, but they'll have their own unique challenges. Yeah.
The Auburn match, it was kind of, you took that first set, fell down 5-0 early in the second. What'd you
Yeah.
do to kind of turn the page and stay mentally tough?
Yeah, again, we just get a little more comfortable with the ebbs and flows of a match, and talk to them about, I think in those first 5 points that second set, we probably hit 3 balls out of bounds and just talked about keeping the floor pretty high as we could try and push the scene a little bit. And it didn't take long for us to get back on track, but really impressive serving performance from us. Kind of the first time I thought it looked like the serving team that we could be and that we're trying to be, and it was just kind of smothering people. And yeah, again, we've got to continue to grow in that. But I was pretty pleased with our response. Third match, of that week, and certainly was our best one, and met a challenge against a really good Auburn team.
That third set where it seemed like nothing could go wrong, what were you noticing?
Yeah, I just hadn't heard the Pavs sound like that in a while, and I just I really liked that for our kids, and for our community. They stuck with us through a pretty tough year last year, and yeah, we're certainly going to open next weekend with two great matches, and just reminding our kids how special it is to play here when you get it right, and how great this community can be. And I think that's what I was thinking and feeling during that run early on. And then, we had to snap back down to reality a little bit and get the job done, but certainly it was a nice moment.
The parity at the national level, what stands out to you about that?
Yeah, a little bit expected, I think, something we've been talking about for a while. We could see it a little bit in the way that rosters were coming together across the country. I thought, this could be interesting, and especially with realignment, some programs making big jumps. So to me, it's not too much of a surprise. I think it'll continue here for the foreseeable future, right? As more universities decide to support volleyball at the highest level, the parity is going to grow. I think you saw it in women's basketball, and now you're seeing it in women's volleyball, and it's fantastic for the game. And yeah, it makes it pretty fun every night to come out and compete. But yeah, enjoying where our game is going right now, for sure.
Mel said that the last 2 days were pretty long practices, kind of zeroing in on some specific things
Yeah.
you guys wanted to improve on. Is maybe back to the schedule part of it, is that what you're talking about in terms of concentrating on yourself, that maybe last year you couldn't have a couple practices like that given the gauntlet and
Yeah.
travel and everything?
Yeah, everyone you faced had something unique that you had to kind of spend all your time dealing with and getting ready for. But even just the schedule we were under, I forget how many matches it was. It felt like 5 matches in 8 days or something like that, and it didn't leave a lot of space for growth or exploration. It was just a little bit of survival. And so, yeah, we took full advantage of having 2 practices these last 2 days, and even today, a travel day, we're practicing again. Practice time becomes gold this time of year. I think some people don't really realize it's just how little time you have to practice, and so we maximize every time, right? Even during interviews here. So,
What are some areas you think that you wanted to hit on here this 3-day stretch?
Yeah, certainly continuing, our middle involvement. We've seen some pretty nice performances, particularly from Calissa, and trying to continue to keep her involved. Trying to get our back row attack going again, something that's kind of escaped us a little bit, or we haven't needed it as much. Those two things stand out to me. And then just our outside hitters hitting with more range and hitting out of system. Again, we're playing some great defense. We're just making it pretty hard. We're dragging people into some tough matches. But there's no reason why our pin hitters especially can't be more efficient and hit with more range.
Did you notice anything different from Calissa from last year as far as offensively, the growth?
Yeah, her coach is playing her more. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, giving her. We saw some signs of this last year, and she's picked up where she worked. She worked all spring. She played. We had 2 middles all spring and through Europe. Until Callie got here, and so, she didn't miss her chances to grow and be ready when her moment came, and we're seeing that right now. Yeah.
When you play a team like Auburn, again, SEC, maybe not exactly like the Big Ten, but
Yeah.
it's a little different from like what Grim was saying, and the schedule that you have leading into Big Ten, where you're going away and you're playing the Green Bay. And so,
Yeah.
I know that was strategic to try to get an opponent like that, but
Yeah.
How do you play these teams on the road, but also you're playing Auburn at home the way you did? You got that win. Like, you kind of want them to keep that feeling going into the Big Ten, even though it's separated by a few matches.
For sure. Yeah, again, having it be our last match in the pad before Big Ten was a little bit by design. What's it going to feel like, sound like the next week? A lot of respect for Auburn, mostly in terms of their discipline and what they can do on defensively. And so it was the right match for them to remember. When we come back next week, they'll know what they need to be. Their last memory here will be pretty similar to what we expect on Wednesday and on Saturday. Yeah.
The 2 players that we chatted with both commented that this team feels a little more connected this year than maybe all the different things going on last year.
Sure.
And I'm sure it can still get, but can a trip like this help too when you're away from home and you got a 3 or 4 day stretch where it's just you guys together?
Certainly thought that last week felt pretty distracted, especially early in the week. A lot going on, start of school, new routines, academic pressures, and so getting away for these 3 days, Wednesday to Saturday, mostly just volleyball. They'll still have their studies, but it is nice to just kind of pull back away and get tightly focused on growth. So I was thinking about this morning, we're taking a bus, mostly because I enjoy the fact that we're together, and just spending that time together and being really tightly focused on each other and what we're trying to do.
When you do a bus trip, will you throw a movie on as a team, or?
Yeah, maybe some film of Green Bay. Yeah, that's about all they get. No, we try and keep it pretty light, but they're sleeping, studying, or they're getting yelled up to the front of the bus to talk with their head coach. Is usually what they got going on. So.
Anything else for Keegan?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How did the Auburn match feel? It just seemed like you were in a different zone that night.
Yeah, it felt really good. We all kind of came into that match with, especially with us, having a little success in the beginning and everything. Auburn's a really good team, and so we knew that they were going to put up a fight. And so it was happy to know that, we went out there, connected and everything. And so that's why you kind of saw that good start to that match.
How much fun was it being back here?
It was super fun. The PAB is an amazing environment. And so anytime we get to play in front of our fans and a lot of us is our, hometown and everything, it's a really great experience.
What's impressed you about this team 7 matches in?
Just our resilience, of course, on the road we lost a couple matches starting out, but I think, we regrouped and we were able to kind of bounce back and work on every area that we needed to. And, that's what surprised me because, not a lot of teams are able to do that.
Where is the team right now compared to last December?
I would say we're at a lot better chemistry aspect. In terms of the chemistry aspect, we connect to each other a lot better than last December, and I think it shows on the court a lot.
What about this weekend? How excited are you to get over to Green Bay and see some teams they haven't used?
Yeah, that's super exciting. I think it's always a challenge when you, or a unique challenge when you see teams that you don't usually see, and I'm fully up for it. So.
Is it easy to overlook this weekend with the Big Ten start next week?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for the Big Ten coming up for sure. But I think that would be kind of the challenge, that we'll face. And so, one game at a time, especially with us having back-to-back games, can we focus on the opponent that's in front of us will be a big challenge for us.
Where's the growth from you from last year? I know we saw it early on in some huge matches. Texas, Stanford, but how do you feel like you've grown the most?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've definitely grown in terms of my role as the M1 as a slide hitter. That's something that we've definitely wanted to fill. Especially since we haven't had that in the past. And so, yeah, I think I've grown in that aspect, and also my leadership role, just kind of knowing what's going on a little bit more going into my sophomore year. So I think that's kind of how I've grown.
And there's obviously a different mix of this team. There's younger players that have been in this program, and there's transfers that come in, and obviously the coaching change and everything. You said the chemistry's better. How would you describe it from last year to this year? With, like I said, some of the younger players, and then those transfers that have just come in, like Lydia and others.
Yeah, that's something that we, really try to emphasize here is that we have the value of kind of that team chemistry, those team bonds. And so, it's always the small acts that kind of build those. Like outside of volleyball, are we talking to each other? Are we, inviting each other for coffee? And we have that outside the court. And so I think that's how it's kind of transferred, and especially kind of integrating those new kids that have come in and those younger kids. I think they feel very welcome because we do those small things outside of the court.
Can you describe the difference in the schedule from last year? Like going into the Big Ten, you had a lot more home matches. Now it's more on the road, and then you're going to come back at home and start the Big Ten. How does that prepare you differently, or how do you focus on it maybe when you're not at the path?
Yeah. Of course, we want to approach every game with the same mentality and everything. It's definitely with us starting on the road. It's a special challenge. And again, this team's fully up for it. I think we're more up for it than we would have been last year if we had the same schedule. And so yeah, I'm really excited to see if we can kind of grab some big wins on the road to start everything off.
Anything else for Calissa?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it being back here, getting to play in front of the home crowd again?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's an unexplainable feeling, I feel like, when you're actually out on the court and on the bench. And then I think with the first 2 games, I don't want to say surprised because the PAV always filled up, but it was a Tuesday-Thursday game. And I was just very happy people decided to show up. And then Friday was a lot of fun, obviously, with it being a Friday night game and a little bit better competition than the other 2 games, but still a really good environment to be in.
That Auburn match, you took the first set, fell down 5-0 in the second, came back to win it. What'd you guys do to kind of dig deep and stay mentally tough?
Well, shout out Alex, because if she wouldn't have came in and got, I don't know how many aces she got, we probably wouldn't have gotten out of the hole for a while. But I mean, I think we just knew our scouting report. We knew what we needed to do, and we weren't playing very good volleyball on our side of the net, so we just kind of cleaned it up. And we were pretty good at siding out with what we needed to be doing from the beginning, and it just kind of fell short right there at the very first part of the game, but then we figured it out. So
Auburn had allowed 9 aces, 6 matches in, and you had 7 against them. Did you guys notice something, or what was working?
We knew they were a really good serving team from film and stuff, and then we also know we're a really good serving team, so we just really focused the couple days before that on hitting the seams, hitting the people we were called on to hit, and then hoping it would work, I guess, kind of, and it did. So just being able to recognize that we're also a really good serving team too. So
that third set seemed like nothing could go wrong. What was going through you guys? What were you feeling?
I looked at Calissa at one point, and we looked up at the score, and we thought the score was wrong. I don't even think we realized how well we were playing on our side, but I think defensively it picked up a little. There weren't a lot of balls hitting the floor. Serving and blocking was well, and I think they kind of fell apart with the pressure that we applied on them. So it just kept rolling.
Where is this team now compared to last December?
Last December? Oh my gosh. I think team-wise we've progressed a lot. I think volleyball-wise we've always had the talent. We just haven't had the ability to connect with each other like we have in the past. I think I don't feel like it's been this kind of a team since maybe my sophomore year. So it's a really good feeling to have your teammates also be some of your best friends outside of volleyball, and I think we've just really gotten to that point where we're all hanging out outside of volleyball, and then it really transfers over, and we know what's going on in each other's lives, and we kind of have an idea of each other's morals and values, so it's a lot easier to flow with each other on the court, I would say, compared to last year's team.
On the road for the last 3 in the non-conference. How are you feeling about this weekend?
I'm excited. I'm happy it's close, so we don't have to fly anywhere. But my parents are coming. I haven't seen them yet. And it'll be fun to get into a few more games away from the PAV before Big Ten starts, I think.
Is there another step you feel you guys can take before Wisconsin comes here next week?
Yeah, I think we can get some stuff in place. like our side out offense or transition offense can be a little bit better. I need to get the ball to the middles more. It's easy as that. So just like a couple little things I think we can put in place against the teams we're playing this week to kind of have us set up a little bit better maybe for next week. But we literally have a game tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes, and then the next two will follow after that.
Is it when you have Texas, Baylor, TCU, Stanford, all that? I guess I'll call this a kind of a change of pace, 3-game series. How do you try to make sure you're not like overlooking, or looking ahead even with Wisconsin looming?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think we've even started talking about Wisconsin yet. I know everyone's looking forward to it because it's like the border battle and it's sold out and all that. But we're really just focused on playing tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. We're the ranked team going into the weekend, so we know we have targets on our back. And obviously, when we played Stanford, we had our flaws. When we played TCU and Baylor, we had our flaws. And I mean, even the teams we played last week, we had stuff that didn't go quite well. So whatever these guys are watching that we're about to play definitely know like some of our weaknesses that we're trying to get better at throughout these 3 games. So if we just stay with what we're doing on our side of the net and kind of keep it going, it should be good. But there's definitely things they can exploit. So we just really need to focus on the 3 games we have this week before we start thinking about the border battle next week. Yeah, even though everyone's really excited.
You mentioned some things that maybe you guys want to work on. How important is it to, in this 3-match grouping, maybe work on those and be for this conference play?
Yeah, I think it's really important. The last 2 practices we've had this week have been, I feel like they felt like 3.5 hours long. They've probably only been like 2.5, 3 hours. But that is like the only things we've been working on for those whole practices. I've been with the middles probably over half the practice, and then when we get into play, it's like that's what we're trying to implement into live play. So I think we have a really, really big emphasis on the couple things I listed that should show up in these 3 games, and then if not, we might need to worry a little bit, but I think it should show up pretty well considering we've been working on it for a while.
I know the TCU match, there was a little scare that you had with your hand.
Oh, yeah.
Since then, how are you feeling? And of course, I mean, when it happens like that in the moment, you're not going to like, hey, I'm going to sit out and this one out. I mean, you played through it, and then, obviously you guys turned it around with a few wins here. So how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling better. It's kind of just like precautionary to have the tape on it at this point to make sure it's a little jammed, so make sure it doesn't get worse at this point, like when I'm blocking and stuff. I can set pretty fine without the tape on. It's just when I'm blocking, I just don't want to mess it up anymore. But yeah, it was a scary moment for sure. I was like bawling my eyes out.
And for this team to have some of those matches after TCU, I mean, obviously wins, but you had some matches where a lot of younger players got in there, and some people got their first, kills in extended time. Like, how important is that before the Big Ten when you never know? Like, you might need somebody that hasn't been playing as much.
I think it's really important. I think, especially since we're all in here practicing every single day, because, I mean, we have to have 2 sides to be able to play. I think it's important for them to get in and, like, not just be like, oh, I'm just doing this in practice to do it in practice. Like, we actually need people to come in and, like, do their job and show up for other people to help either give people a rest or, like, some people just aren't having a good game. So we need them to understand that, like, I think they do understand this, but it's a lot more easy to understand when you actually get put in that, like, you're valued and we need you. Like, there's a reason you're on our team. So, and I think a lot of them had a lot of fun. The 2 games they all got to go in, and then even the Auburn game, we had a couple of people going in and out. So I think they just think it's a lot of fun. So it's happy to see, like, they can actually see that their practice is paying off too, and they don't just think they're here to practice type thing. Yeah.
All right, anything else from Mel?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.